Whitmore and Associates was the kind of law firm where names carried more weight than resumes. The corridors, lined with polished mahogany and self-importance, whispered tales of legacy hires and quiet exclusions. To outsiders, it was a beacon of legal prestige. To Maya Caldwell, it was a battleground she had never asked for but refused to retreat from. She had worked twice as hard, stayed twice as late, and sacrificed twice as much. And yet, every morning as she stepped onto the pristine marble floors, she could feel the weight of their eyes, calculating, doubting, expecting her to falter. She wasn't blind to the rules that governed this space. Here, power wasn't earned. It was inherited, and for people like her there was an unspoken ceiling, one that had nothing to do with skill and everything to do with who they believed deserved a seat at the table. At that moment, she was seated at a table she had fought for a high-stakes meeting with one of the firm's most prestigious clients. The air was thick with the scent of power, arrogance, and the unyielding belief that people like her should remain invisible. But Maya wasn't invisible today. Today, she was presenting. She adjusted the papers in front of her, cleared her throat, and began. Our research indicates that pursuing arbitration instead of litigation will reduce risk and ensure confidentiality for the client. Arbitration? Ethan Whitmore's voice cut through hers, sharp and dismissive. Maya, that's cute, but let's be realistic. These high-level cases aren't won by playing it safe. A few chuckles rippled around the room. The client, an older man with sharp eyes and an expensive watch, merely observed. Maya swallowed. With all due respect, my analysis. Ethan leaned, back in his chair, arms crossed, smirking. Maybe you're more comfortable with community cases, but this is corporate law. We don't make decisions based on idealism. We win. Silence. Maya's fingers tightened around the edge of her notepad. She could feel the gazes, some pitying, some amused, but mostly indifferent. She could see Lisa sitting across from her, shifting uncomfortably. No one would speak up. They never did. She met Ethan's gaze, steady and controlled. Winning is exactly what I intend to do, she said, her voice unwavering. And if we want to win, we use strategy, not ego. Ethan's smile faltered just slightly, but he recovered quickly, giving her a patronizing nod. Admirable, but I think we'll stick with the approach of people who've actually been in this business long enough. The meeting carried on, the discussion shifting without her. The moment passed, dismissed just as easily as she had been. When it was over, chairs scraped against the polished floors, voices rose in casual chatter, and the tension that had held the room hostage evaporated, at least for everyone but Maya. She gathered her papers methodically, her hands steady, her face unreadable. Ethan, of course, strolled past her without another glance. The client shook hands with the senior partners, the decision already made before she had even opened her mouth. Lisa approached her hesitantly. Maya. I'm fine, Maya said, even though she wasn't. She never was. She walked out of the conference room, her heels clicking against the floor, her heartbeat steady despite the rage simmering beneath the surface. She would not give them the satisfaction of seeing her crack. As she turned the corner, she caught hushed voices near the partners' offices. Did you hear? Leadership's changing, the old man is stepping down. Who's taking over? Rumors say it's someone from outside, someone progressive. Maya didn't stop walking, but she allowed herself the smallest of smiles. Change was coming, and when it did, she would be ready. Maya sat at her desk, staring at the firm's logo embossed on the thick folder in front of her. The weight of the last few months pressed down on her like an invisible force. Every promotion she had been passed over for, every meeting where her ideas had been dismissed, every subtle slight that told her she was an outsider. It all echoed in her mind. She had done everything right, yet she still felt like she was walking on a tightrope that could snap at any moment. She sighed, shaking her head. Lisa's voice crackled through the speakerphone. Maya, you need to breathe. Maya exhaled slowly. It's just, I work twice as hard as these people, Lisa. And for what? To be overlooked, to be disrespected? Lisa sighed. You know why, Maya. You could be 10 times better than them, and it still wouldn't be enough for some of these folks. But that doesn't mean you let them win. I know that, Maya muttered, rubbing her temple. It's just exhausting. I see them getting promoted, getting credit for work I've done. And I sit here, smiling, pretending it doesn't bother me. Lisa's voice softened. It's okay to be angry, Maya, but don't let it consume you. You deserve better than this place. The question is, do you still want to fight for it? Maya closed her eyes for a long moment. I don't know. The following morning, she walked into the office, back straight, chin high. She had made a silent promise to herself that she wouldn't let the weight of their prejudice break her. But the firm had its own rules, its own hierarchy, and she was starting to realize that no amount of excellence would be enough to rewrite them. Ethan leaned casually against her desk, flipping through a legal brief. Nice work on this, Caldwell. Too bad I had to rewrite most of it. Maya's jaw clenched. She had spent weeks on that report. You rewrote it? Ethan smirked. Yeah, just cleaned it up a bit. Senior partners liked it, though. They want me to lead the next phase. She knew better than to show her frustration. Of course, congratulations. He patted the edge of her desk. Thanks, Caldwell. Maybe next time. It wasn't just him. It was the entire system. High profile. Cases were handed off to associates who looked nothing like her, while she was left to do the groundwork. She was a convenience, a tool, but never a candidate for something greater. The breaking point came when the firm's largest client case, one she had worked tirelessly on, fell apart. The numbers didn't add up, the paperwork had errors, and all fingers pointed at her. Ethan sat smugly as the partners grilled her in the conference room. I don't understand, Maya said, flipping through the documents, her voice controlled despite the fire building inside her. These weren't the figures I submitted. One of the senior partners, Mr. Ellison, frowned. Well, these are the figures now, and the mistakes are costly. Maya's eyes darted to Ethan. He met her gaze with an expression that was almost amused. He had done this. She knew it, but proving it was another battle altogether. I don't make mistakes like this, Maya said firmly. Ellison sighed. Then, you better figure out what happened, quickly. The meeting ended with a formal reprimand. Ethan left first, not bothering to hide his smirk. Lisa's voice was sharp over the phone later that night. They set you up. Maya paced her apartment, her pulse racing. I know, but what am I supposed to do? Accuse Ethan? They'll just protect him, that's how it works. So what, you're going to let them do this to you, just roll over and let them win? Maya pressed a hand against her forehead. Lisa, I'm tired. There was silence for a moment. Then softly, Lisa asked, Did your mother ever tell you about how your grandmother fought to get hired at that bank? Maya swallowed. Yeah. She was turned away 3 times. The 4th time, she showed up with every document proving she was more qualified than every single person in that office, and they had no choice but to hire her. You come from a line of fighters, Maya. You don't quit. Maya closed her eyes, letting the words sink in. The next morning, she walked into the office with a new resolve. She wasn't going to quit. She wasn't going to argue. She was going to be smart. She began documenting everything. Every email, every misstep orchestrated by Ethan, every instance where she was overlooked. She built her case the way she had been trained to, meticulously, flawlessly, undeniably. Because when the time came, she wouldn't just fight back. She would win. Whispers filled the corridors of Whitmore and Associates. A storm was brewing, and everyone knew it. Conversations behind closed doors grew more hushed, glances more guarded. The once unshakable power structure of the firm was showing cracks, and the air was thick with speculation. They're saying the audit uncovered major financial discrepancies, a junior associate murmured near the break room. Not just that, another voice cut in. There are rumors about unethical hiring practices, favoritism, all of it pointing back to the old leadership. Maya listened, her fingers wrapped around a steaming cup of coffee. She had waited for this moment, waited for the House of Vi. Cards to fall. A firm-wide email arrived confirming what many had suspected, but few had dared to believe. The CEO, Ethan's father, was stepping down. Effective immediately. The news spread like wildfire, and for the first time, Maya saw something she had never seen before. Uncertainty in Ethan's eyes. He sat stiffly at his desk, his fingers clenched into fists. His last name had always been his shield, but now that shield was cracking. A meeting was called that afternoon, mandatory attendance. The conference room was packed, filled with attorneys and executives alike. Dr. Angela Carter stood at the head of the table, her presence commanding, yet poised. "Effective today," she announced. "Whitmore and Associates will be moving in a new direction, one built on merit, integrity, and accountability." Maya held her breath as Dr. Carter's gaze swept the room. "In light of recent revelations," Dr. Carter continued, "there will be restructuring. Several leadership changes will take place, and we expect transparency and accountability at every level." Maya could feel Ethan's eyes on her, his confidence cracking under the weight of the unknown. Then the words came. The ones Maya had dreamed of but never dared to believe would be spoken. "Maya Caldwell has been appointed Vice President of Corporate Litigation." Gasps filled the room. Papers rustled. The silence that followed was deafening. Maya blinked, her heart pounding. For the first time since she had set foot in this firm, she felt something close to justice. Ethan's face twisted in disbelief. His mouth opened as if to object, but no words came. Maya stood, smoothing down the front of her blazer. "Thank you, Dr. Carter," she said, her voice steady. "I'm honored to step into this role and ensure that this firm lives up to the principles it claims to uphold." She felt the shift then. A turning of the tide. She was no longer fighting to be seen. She had arrived. Ethan stormed into Maya's office, his face flushed with barely contained rage. He shut the door behind him, his movements sharp and uncontrolled. "This is a joke," he spat. "You think you belong in that position? You think you, of all people, can run corporate litigation?" Maya leaned back in her chair, her expression unreadable. "Ethan, was there something specific you came in here to discuss, or are you just here to throw a tantrum?" His nostrils flared. "You don't deserve this. You got lucky." She chuckled, shaking her head. "Lucky? You mean I worked twice as hard, endured your sabotage, and still managed to be better than you?" She tilted her head. "If that's luck, then I guess I'm the luckiest person in this firm." He slammed his hands against her desk. "This isn't over." She met, his gaze unwavering. "Oh, but it is. You just don't realize it yet." Ethan had always relied on his privilege to shield him from consequences. But now, Maya held the power to pull back the curtain on his mediocrity. That afternoon, she requested his performance reviews. The records were damning. Incomplete casework, complaints from colleagues, unethical practices that had been ignored simply because of his last name. Maya set the folder down in front of him later that evening. "You should read this, Ethan." He barely glanced at it, scoffing. "And what? You're going to fire me?" She leaned forward, her tone calm but firm. "No, I don't have to. Your record speaks for itself. I'm submitting this to the disciplinary committee, and unlike before, no one's going to cover for you." For the first time, genuine fear flickered in his eyes. He had always been untouchable. Until now. A week later, the official announcement was made. Ethan Whitmore was being placed on probation, his influence within the firm stripped away. Colleagues who had once flocked to him distanced themselves, not wanting to be associated with a sinking ship. He passed Maya in the hallway, his steps slower, his shoulders heavier. She didn't gloat. She didn't need to. She had already won. The email arrived in Ethan's inbox like a death sentence. The subject line was cold, sterile, devoid of the respect he had grown used to. Performance review and disciplinary action, effective immediately. He stared at the screen, rereading the words as if they might change. His hands clenched into fists. This wasn't possible. It had to be a mistake. Minutes later, he stormed down the hallway, but the looks on his colleagues' faces told him everything. They knew. They had already moved on. The door to Dr. Carter's office was slightly ajar. And inside, Maya sat calmly, reviewing a document. Ethan didn't knock. "This is a joke," he hissed, slamming the door behind him. Maya didn't flinch. She placed the file down with deliberate care, then folded her hands on the desk. "I assume you're here about the disciplinary notice. You think you can just—" He stopped himself, exhaling sharply. "You think you can do this to me? After everything?" Maya arched a brow. "After everything?" she repeated, voice smooth but edged with steel. "Ethan, what's happening to you right now isn't personal. It's accountability." His jaw tightened. "You think you're better than me?" "No," she said, shaking her head. "I know I worked harder than you. I know I was smarter than you. And I know that despite all of that, I had to fight to get what you were handed." Ethan scoffed. "This firm was built by my family. You don't belong here." Maya leaned forward, her voice lowering. "That's where you're wrong. This firm was built by the people who did the work. The people who weren't invited to the country clubs, who weren't given the easy cases, who weren't protected by their last names. I belong here more than you ever did." Ethan's eyes burned with rage, but beneath it, something else flickered. Fear. He had never been powerless before. He didn't know what to do with it. "The review is final," Maya continued. "You've been demoted and placed on probation. You're free to leave if you don't want to accept those terms." His lips pressed into a tight line. "Or," she added, "you can stay and finally prove you're worth something other than your name." Silence stretched between them. He had no comeback, no smug retort. He had lost. Ethan turned and walked, out, and for the first time in his life, no one followed. Maya sat in her new office, the nameplate on her desk reflecting the soft glow of the overhead lights. Vice President of Corporate Litigation. It had taken years, battles she hadn't asked for, and sacrifices she couldn't measure. And yet, here she was. Lisa's voice crackled through the phone. "So, how does it feel?" Maya exhaled. "Like I climbed a mountain and just realized how far I had to go." Lisa chuckled. "Yeah, well, at least you're at the top now." Maya smiled faintly, but she knew the truth. It wasn't about being at the top. It was about what she did while she was here. The following week, she met with the firm's junior associates, many of whom had never been given the mentorship they needed to thrive. She outlined a new initiative, a program designed to ensure that talent, not connections, determines success. As she walked the halls, she noticed the quiet glances of the young black associates, the ones who had watched her struggle, the ones who now saw what was possible. She met their eyes and nodded. They nodded back. Change had come to Whitmore and Associates, and it wasn't leaving anytime soon.